Okay, so going live. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. Must be Devaraj's Q&A time. I remember when I was a kid, there was this program called Crackerjack or something, kids, and it was like, it's Friday, it's 5 to 5, it's Crackerjack. I don't remember who was on it now. Probably been, my mind says probably been done as child molesters by now. Most of the kids' TV presenters seem to have fallen down that hole or something. Anyway, I digress. Okay, we're live on YouTube. It's Tuesday at 6 p.m. What have I been up to in the last week? Well, I've just got back from I got back on Sunday from Colourfest, which is like a alternative new age festival. About 2,000 people come down the other side of Dorset in the UK, and that was a really nice time. I like that festival. I like it. You know, I was teaching bioenergetics there in the mornings, doing some 1.5 hour sessions at 8 in the morning. And had some night, you know, I was kind of like, no one's going to get up at that time to come and do this, but I had about 20 people each day, and that was cool, and I gave them quite a full-on experience. And yeah, Luigi was there actually. Luigi was often on this thing. I think he came to both of them. And yeah, I enjoyed that. My hay fever kind of came up really bad on the Saturday and Sunday when the sun came out, but I mean, I just kind of practiced some level of just radical acceptance with it, and just accept the fact that my nose is streaming like fuck, and I'm sneezing, and I've got this thing going on. Hey Luigi. Yeah, and it's kind of okay like that. It's kind of okay like that. And then I popped down to the chemist yesterday and got a bit of some kind of steroidal Beckinase spray for it, which hopefully will do the job, because I'm going to go off camping again. I love this time of year in South Dorset with my girlfriend on Thursday evening. And I've just been working like, I don't know, like fuck, really. Like Monday, Tuesday, today, with a big backlog of kind of admin, you know, for the community where I live. And so ringing people up and trying to sort this out, trying to fix the fucking dishwasher, which I promised the guy who's over the maintenance here. We call it Debop in the community, which is a long reason why we call it that, but it doesn't really matter. But promising him I'll have a look at the dishwasher, because I used to do electrical stuff before I got into being a therapist. So I've been doing that, and then the computer this and this is going wrong and that's going wrong and fucking hell. And you know, they took their car back and now they want to charge us this, and all this kind of admin that I take on suddenly just went into a massive explosion of kind of blah blah. So I'm trying to get my head around that, and you know, not get too caught up in it and too tense in my body from it. And tonight, it's nice, my mate Sabavo, who lives here in the community, another Osho guy, he's having his birthday party, so we're going to go and have a meal together and hang out, have a drink, something like that. That's going to be really nice. One of the nice things about living in Osho community, you know, is like, it's not too austere, you know. For me, it's like awareness based. So you got to have triggering. You know, you got to have triggering. Any awareness-based environment, to me, you got to have triggering. You're going to get the shit triggered out of you at some point. If you don't get triggered, how are you going to have a chance to own the trigger and to get deeper inside yourself? Can't happen, basically. Can't happen. Very, very hard. Very, very hard. You know, you can go and live in, you know, people think like a Buddhist community is an awareness-based environment. It's not. It's a meditative community, you know. It's got a different focus. When you're trying to develop self-awareness to go deeper, you need to be triggered. And you also need to be in an environment where you feel like you can go into the trigger, you know, and own it, you know, instead of blaming, or this person's pissed me off and I fancied her, but now she's gone off with him and blah, blah, what a bitch, blah, blah. Not revealing your own, what's going on in your own heart, you know, inside of you. You need to be in an environment where that is supported, you know. So that's what's nice about living in Osho community. It's a lot of awareness-based stuff. And I was just thinking a bit about Osho today, you know, Indian mystic from the 70s and 80s, you know, and, you know, he's kind of coming back as a revival in interest. For a long, I'm going to do a little video about it. I'm going to do a little video about it in the next week or so. But, you know, there's a revival in interest, and I really feel like, you know, it's cool to be one of Osho's people, you know, it's cool, you know. It's like people call it a cult and all of this, you know, and like, well, so fucking what, you know? What isn't a fucking cult? What is not a cult, you know? Can you point me to some social structure somewhere that's not a cult? I was brought up in a cult. I was brought up in a cult called Britain in the 80s, basically, you know, where basically, you know, you went to school for a load of time and learned a load of crap you didn't want to learn, and then, oh God, someone's some bullshit. You learn a lot of crap you didn't want to learn and be subjected to all these teachers blasting at you and all of this stuff going on. And then you got a really shit job that you didn't want to do. And every weekend you went out and get absolutely fucking hammered. You know, that is, if that isn't cult behavior, what is? What is? Every weekend you went out and got hammered and convinced yourself it was a really great thing to do. I stayed in that cult for 20 years. I mean, in honesty, I kind of dropped out in my early 20s, but I was still, you know, I was still submersed in British culture. And, you know, that's a cult, and you can join that cult. You know, it's got good things about it. There's a lot of people in that cult, and it's got bad things about it, such as you're likely to die of cancer in your 50s or 60s or something like that, and probably have a pretty shit life, you know. But if you want to scout around and look out, you know, what other cults are available, then I think the Osho one is pretty good, you know. Definitely, it seemed a lot better to me than the British culture I was brought up in, if I was really honest about it, you know. I developed deeper friendships. A lot of people are interested in sex and sexuality and all sorts of stuff. And, you know, I think it's a pretty fucking good cult. Anyway, I'm getting the odd question here, so I will stop. I'm going to save that for a talk about Osho next week. Telemix, hi. Telemix, hello. I was wondering if you had any tips. I have restrictions for my shoulder blades. Also broke my finger a year ago, so it's all pretty tight. When you say restrictions, are you talking about like something physical that's happened to your shoulder area? That would be good to know. And I broke my finger a year ago, so it's all pretty tight, you know, because you've got to be careful doing any kind of body-based therapy when you've got actually stuff broken inside your body. You know, it needs to, normally it would need to heal to a certain degree first, but if it's just tension, then that's a different story. And I'm doing quite a lot on the shoulders, and the shoulders are really important, you know. One thing classically in psychology with the shoulders is the weight of responsibility, you know, but we've picked up from society, we picked up from our parents, we picked up from how our child mind processed what was going on in our childhood, and sometimes it converted to I have to take responsibility a lot of the time. So that's big on the shoulders, and that's quite well known in psychology, you know. But what's not so well known is the shoulders and the area between the shoulders, which I bang on about a lot. That is where your heart closes from and opens from, you know. On an energetic level, it's a very important mystical center. So it's really good to get your shoulders moving. I think it's just poor posture as well. The finger is healed, but I have chronic tension in all these areas. Well, get into some, you know, some bioenergetics, breathing, and picture's gone a little bit funny, sorry. Some breathing, and look for my belly meditation. In fact, I'm going to do a new version of it. You know, to get the center of gravity down lower. Is a basic strategy for anybody, you know. Pretty much everyone that you meet is living through thinking, and there's a little bit of peripheral awareness in the body. But you need to get the awareness back in the body, you know, where it belongs, you know. And once you've got it back down in your belly, your whole upper body will start to relax. And that's quite a journey, you know. It's not a quick fix thing that you're just going to come and do one bioenergetic exercise online for like half an hour and your whole awareness is going to pull back in the body. I mean, great if it does, but it's not all that likely. You need to get into exercises, this kind of inner work, and, you know, work it a bit. Work it so that you get to feel inside your body. I would start with this belly meditation, and I would also look at bioenergetic workouts on my channel. There's one for arms and shoulders. I'm going to do another big one on shoulders, a whole load of different shoulder stuff. But that workout will really get you going for a while. There's also a workout on there called No More Mr. Nice Guy, which can be good. It's about 20 minutes long. It's got a little bit of expression in it as well. And that's been helpful. A lot of people wrote to me and said, wow, this has really sorted me out a lot. You know, it's really cleared some stuff. So check that out, Tadamix, and let me know. Get back in touch, see if something moves for you. You know, I hope it can. Shoulders are a great area to work. Belly is a great area to work. I've actually developed a little workout kind of like the belly activation, which I'm going to put online soon. And it's basically the triple opener, I call it. It opens the belly, the shoulders, and the throat. You know, belly, shoulders, and throat, or really belly, heart, and throat, essentially, by working with these rear shoulders in this way. All in one movement, which you do for 15 minutes, and which will probably half kill you or feel like that, but it will start to clear a lot when you stick with it. It's powerful stuff. And what's interesting is you can only get these bits from me. A lot of other classical bioenergetics, which I teach, of course, you can find a lot of people teaching it, but I'm also bringing some stuff in which I've been working on myself. And because I'm in a lucky position of teaching all the time, I get to kind of experiment a bit you know, and see what's working, what's not. And that's necessary in any kind of discipline like this, that you can get out there and try stuff on your own body, try it on other people who are on program here at Leela on their body. And like that, we develop some quite exciting stuff over time. I mean, this month, what I'm really looking forward to is this spiritual boot camp, which is like a 3-day bioenergetics intensive. I'm running right at the end of the month, starts June 28th. And anyone into bio, you know, it's going to really support you to come to that. Even if you're living abroad, maybe it's worth the commitment to come over for 3 days. It's the first one of those I've run. And I'm going to limit it to 15, 20 people because I want to feel like I'm really holding the space proper and I've got time to give everyone attention, you know. Workshop leading is my real profession as well as one-to-one therapy, and I like to do it professionally. So I don't want to have a huge group on the first group. I want to keep it fairly small and intimate. I've already got quite a few people signed up. I can take another five or maybe a few more. And that is going to be an awesome group where you're going to learn a ton of bioenergetics, you know, and get some individual tips or feedback about your posture, how you can move forwards. There's also going to be a chance in the afternoons where, you know, you can get around and start to reveal a bit your own story with the other participants, you know, and get some advice and maybe get up and have some challenge exercises, all helpfully supported, you know, so you can move deeper. Because out in the world, it's hard, you know. When I was growing up in Essex and London in England, you know, it's a harsh culture. And as a young guy, you know, it's hard to open up your heart and talk about your past because you've got to keep this front on all the time, you know. You got to keep this front on, and it's a mug's fucking game. Just keeping a front on, it's a mug's fucking game. I tell you, it's okay to be a guy and to be macho, go out and drink beer, chase women, or whatever you want to do. You know, it's okay to do that stuff. But if you can't also open up and talk about the stuff that isn't working in your life, I mean, you really miss over time, big time. You know, so many people try to keep this mask on, and they do anything to keep it on, and maybe you get away with it in your 20s. Later in life, it's going to catch you up, you know. So it's great we've got the centre here where people can come and really start to open up a bit more. You know, for men, it's so fucking useful. It's so great. You know, when I first came here like 16 years ago, no way was I going to talk about my shit. I mean, I saw these other guys, you know, who I kind of looked up to, you know, who've been here for a while. They've been around the scene and they're talking about all this stuff about, you know, difficulties in sex, difficulties with women, thinking about all sorts of stuff. And I thought, well, I've got all that shit, but I keep it inside, you know. No way am I going to talk about that shit. But once, you know, after a few months had passed, I thought, man, this is a safe place. I can talk about this stuff too. And that is so vital, you know. It's so fucking vital. And it's a big way that the culture keeps us under the thumb. Everyone is too scared to talk about what's really going on, particularly guys. Women find it easier generally to make cooperative relationships where they can share about the bad shit that's happening, you know. But for men, it's like a no-no in the society I grew up in, and it's really a miss when you can't do it. So drop me a line if you're interested in spiritual boot camp in 3-day bioenergetic intensive. I might change the name next time. The next one's in February because I'm really up to it. Can relate to this a lot. Cheers. Okay, cool, man. Anyway, anyone out there who's got a bit of a question, then just be brave and put it out. Just somewhere, many times in my life, I just had to say, fuck it. I'm just going to do it. I don't care anymore. You know, I'm just going to do something, you know. I need change. I'm going to do something. Once I took a huge dose of an African shamanic drug because I just felt fucked up. I woke up early. I had this thing on the shelf and I thought, fuck it. I'm just going to take it. Changed my life. I mean, could have probably killed me possibly, but it didn't. And it changed my life. It was just what I needed at the moment, at that time. Majad TV. Hi, hey man. Hey, Majad. Can you talk about yourself, how you changed your life job towards working with bioenergetics instead of keeping your mask and living in a life? Yeah, sure, man. People have been asking me more about my story, and I feel a little bit kind of like, oh, you know, I'm narcissistic enough as it is. I don't want to just go on about it, but maybe it would be nice to do that. I talk a little bit. I mean, what happened for me, you know, I had a very traumatized childhood, you know, of abandonment, not really abandonment, adoption, abuse, nearly dying through some illness when I was like 10 months old and stuff. And somewhere I really closed off inside, you know, and then even in my teenage and 20s didn't really open up. I had a really heavy acid trip when I was 24, and that so freaked me out. I kind of, I think I really accessed all the anger I had inside, and it just freaked me out. And I shut down even more for a long time. And it wasn't until my late 30s that I started to think, you know what, I need to change. I need to change my life. I'm not happy with it. It was like a clear realization. And then I just started looking around for therapy. I was in London, living in central London, and I just started looking around and going to therapists and just trying stuff out. And I got a connection to the Osho scene, and it was still regarded as the kind of a big cult and very dodgy. But the reality was I'd been a criminal. I dropped out of society when I was in my early 20s, and I was kind of in out all the time, being a punk and a squatter. I didn't give a shit about cults. I wasn't bothered. I didn't think that I was kind of too caught up in the general narrative of community and of society, British society. So I got into Osho and ended up at Osho Lila here, doing programs, being on the most basic program, and slowly stayed and worked myself up the system. Gave up my flat in London after about a year, and and then at some point I started leading stuff and running stuff. When I felt I'd internalized enough knowledge and done enough self-development myself, I thought, okay, it's time to put it out. And also some people who I was working with were encouraging me, saying, next step for you is to get out there and do your thing. And I was scared at first, but like anything in life, you just start and you just keep going, and you take step by step, and you breathe and you feel your way through it. I hope that helps a little. And and it's not so hard to take the mask off for guys. It's curious, we think we're all really locked in, but when you get around other guys that you can look up to, and they're speaking their truth on a deeper level, at some point you think, fuck it, what have I got to lose? Really. Men out in the world, they fight and compete a lot, especially back in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up in London. But, you change that environment, you'd be surprised how quickly a lot of guys relax down and just chill out with stuff. It's quite surprising. It's not so hard, really. Iboga. Yes, I took a huge dose of Iboga back in 1999 and had a huge kind of mystical insight for a while. It stays I was out of it for like 33 hours on this shit. And it wasn't that it just shifted something, and I knew I could change my life on a deeper level. And that in some ways is what motivated me to get into therapy. I mean, also taking E a lot as well, if I'm honest. Ecstasy opened me up a bit. I was very rigid and hardened before that, and I couldn't access anything to do with my feelings. And I started to take E, and it showed me a different side of myself. And I was sussed enough around drugs, because I'd been around drugs most of my life, to know that I wasn't going to just take it all the time. Friends of mine were getting depressed. A guy I knew kind of died, a little bit E-related. Anyway. Which people inspired you during your journey? I mean, the main guy who was a therapist for me was Varesh, who's now passed away a few years ago, founder and head of a Humaniversity. And, he was the main guy that I first saw. And he was kind of stepping down a bit at the Humaniversity in those days, but he was still around a lot, and he was a figurehead. And I could see that he was really streetwise. He wasn't some nice Guardian reading, middle-class, liberal therapist, tell me about your childhood, poor baby kind of thing. Nothing wrong with that stuff, but I knew it wasn't going to work for me. And he was a tough guy. He'd been a heroin addict in New York and had got off heroin and, all these heavy drug treatment programs. And he was running that kind of stuff in Holland at the Century side of the Osho Humaniversity. He'd got into Osho along the way. So he was a huge inspiration. He was running heavy, tough therapy, and they called you on your shit, they didn't fuck around, and that was just what I needed, because I could bullshit people, but I knew it wasn't working for me. So he was a big inspiration. I think also, one of the younger guys there who was coming up, Giti, young German guy, big German guy, he was very inspiring for me. He was a full-on therapist. He could really get on your fucking case, and he also, especially later on, became also really developed his heart and became a very, very beautiful man. He's an inspiring guy. I worked a bit with a Balinese mystic called Ratu Bagas, who's an energy master. I went over to Bali a bit, and he came to the UK, and I used to see him in Italy. And it wasn't so much a personal connection, but his work was very powerful and taught me a lot. I also did satsang a bit initially in Goa when I was dossing around in Goa being a hippie in the early 2000s. I got into Osho already, and I'd gone out to Pune, and then I was going down to Goa, and I started to hear about this thing satsang, about meeting, the guru basically. And this German woman, Niru, I got into her for a while. She was inspiring and moved me. And, also Muji on that level for a while. I was quite into Muji. And I still like a bit of satsang, but I'm into the body stuff as well, and I'm into therapy. I don't see the kind of, most people who are into one or the other. If they're in this kind of scene, they're into satsang, they're just into satsang, you know. Or if they're into the therapy, they're just into the therapy. I'm into both, and a bit of energy work. And I don't find them so inconsistent with each other at all. Most people who are into that scene do. I don't find them inconsistent. But they were big inspirations for me, I guess. And I think anybody that I could look at in life and I thought they're a survivor, you know, they've been through the shit, you know, they've been through the shit and they've come out on top, you know, they're inspirational. I just stuck a picture, if you're very bright, you might see I've got a picture of Stormzy at the back there, done by a graffiti artist called I Am Dimitri. You know, I don't know so much about Stormzy, but I found that picture inspiring, and it conjures up that sense for me of someone, you know, who's basically strong together, but has come up through a very hostile environment and has bit by bit developed their awareness and risen up, you know, because that's what I see him as having done. And a lot of black, you know, I'm into hip hop and stuff, you know, a lot of black street guys I see the same way. You know, they came from a harsh environment and they grew up. I didn't come from quite such a harsh environment. I came from a highly traumatized environment into a relatively sort of middle-ish class family, and an adoptive and stuff, but I can still relate to that struggle. You know, I can relate to the struggle where you're constantly facing yourself, where you're constantly facing, you know, all your negativity. You're constantly facing all the people that want to put you down, you know, and the society that just wants to exploit you. And instead of just fighting against it, you keep going inside and finding your own way. I can relate to that very deeply. Until you come to a point where you can, when people are trying to blame society for the fact they're fucked up, you say, that is bullshit. That is bullshit. You're just making an excuse. Because then you have to say it to yourself as well. And that's part of the role of being a therapist. So, hey, Jason. Not sure. Jason Clark, are you in Bristol? You guy in Bristol who was on the training? I'm not sure which Jason it is. Anyway, my memory for names is pretty shit. And I don't see your face there on the thing. Anyway, okay, so if you've got a question, just stick it out. Yep, that's me. Cool, man. Cool. I hope you're doing okay after the training. You don't need to speak about it on the live channel, of course, people. Even though there's not so many people tuned in right now, I know about in a week or so, 100, 200 people will have watched it. So, you know, feel free, feel your privacy if you need it. But I hope you're doing good, and I hope that the training was good for you. It's exciting. We're going to be starting again in September again with this 9 month of one workshop a month for 9 months, and I'm even taking I think a bigger role this time. I think I'm co-leading the primal group as well, so I'm in quite heavily in about 4 of the 9 groups, and that's going to be fun. I'm doing the belly activation. It's doing me a good turn. Cool, man. Doing the belly activation, that's great. That's an awesome full-on thing. You know, I won't go on about my clients, but I have quite a high-profile client over in the States somewhere, and he's getting right into it. You know, he's getting right into the belly activation. It's going to be version 1.2 soon, called the triple opener, which has got an extra little bit in it. It's actually a bit shorter, but it's got an extra bit in it to even open up a little bit more of the body at the same time. I've been working on it. You know, the belly, the gut down here, and the area between the shoulder blades. You get those 2 areas open, and it's like your deeper awareness, your higher self almost. So I'm not so much into that kind of stuff. Comes back online and it can guide you, you know. When I started therapy, I knew I needed a girlfriend. You know, I hadn't had a girlfriend for a decade, and I knew what I needed. I just kept doing the therapy till I got a girlfriend, and then I got, you know, the feedback and the nourishment from having a woman back in my life. And what I've learned now is, you know, 20 years down the line, is open up the gut a bit, open up the heart a bit, and it's like you can start to nourish yourself and get insights and awareness about how you need to move yourself in therapy. So those are key areas to work on, you know, and then they kind of nourish you, and you start to develop your self-awareness so that you can call your own bullshit. You know, I have a little book of ideas for my YouTube channel, and I'm going to start something about the resistance book, which essentially is a little pocket notebook you carry around for a week, and you write down all the excuses as they come up that you have for doing things. You know, if it's stuff at work you don't want to do, or whether it's like, you know, exercises for gym or bioenergetics you committed to, and all the excuses you use not to do them, you have to write them down. You have to write them down for a week and read them every day until you get so sick of your own bullshit, you keep moving deeper. I've never done it myself. I'm going to do it myself and write down my excuses. See how it goes. Best way to open the heart. To open the heart, the best way for me is to work on this area between the shoulder blades. You know, being a bodywork bioenergetics teacher, that's really where we close our heart from. You know, it feels like it opens here. You know, when we talk about energetic heart, the human physical heart is a bit over to the left. But you know, when you're in deep grief or sadness, you know, when you really feel like, oh, it really, really hurts emotionally, there's a sense of something like breaking open here. You know, you can feel it breaking open. And so people think the heart opens like this, and it does, but we keep it closed directly behind there between the shoulder blades by thinking and doing a lot, keeping those muscles tight. So working those shoulder workouts that I talked about earlier will help to open the heart, you know, help to access deeper emotions. You know, it's important. And then you get mystical as well, you know, and the gut also is a big mystical center, essentially on a deeper level. You know, it's the center of meditation. The mind, this control thing up here, it can reach down to the heart center. It can't reach to the gut center. Once the gut center's got a bit open, you've got a point inside your awareness that is outside the mind. And that, it doesn't matter if you're a multi-fucking billionaire, man. You can't pay for that. You can't pay for that. You can't pay enough money to have that because you're outside the game. You're outside the game, and you can get sucked in and you do all your stuff, but you're outside the bullshit game. But a lot of social society, a lot of areas of society are playing with you. You're outside it. You've got a point within your own awareness where you can be centered, you know, and where you can develop from. You can't pay for that stuff. So it's deep stuff, you know. It's deep stuff, you know. You can and you can use it, you know, just to get your social needs better met, whether it's, you know, partners, lovers, friends, job, role within a hierarchy. You can use all this stuff for that, or you can use it on a deeper level. You want to really experience deep meditation, whether you want to go on an authentic spiritual journey, whether you want to go deep into, you know, who you really are, you know, on a very deep level. You know, you can use bioenergetics for that. There's all sorts of stuff you can do with it. It starts, I think it's good to clear the social stuff first and get your life basically functional, you know, and be honest about it. Because a lot of people try and develop a spiritual ego when they haven't got their social life fixed. In fact, their social life is pretty fucked, basically, you know, and it's kind of a, what's the word? There's always a temptation for people, you know, move to Glastonbury, start wearing funny colours and make out like you're some kind of guru. Make like you're some kind of guru. And then develop this spiritual ego, you know, but you haven't actually cleared anything. So it's good to clear your basic social stuff first, your childhood, you know, get it pretty clear before you start developing any kind of spiritual ego. And then you don't need a spiritual ego. You know, it's nice just being able to talk to people one-to-one. You don't need to be on some fucking platform above people. And also, you know, you can be sometimes in a structure on a platform above people when you're working with a hierarchy and you're higher up the hierarchy. You know, it's okay. But if you can't come down from that platform and just communicate one-to-one, then you really miss in life. Fuck yeah. Can bioenergetics heal without other therapies? Yes. Simple answer to that. But, you know, the bottom line for me is self-awareness. That's the key to healing for me. I'm awareness teacher. I'm school of awareness. That's me. You know, and what it comes down to is, are you willing to investigate what's going on inside your own being, inside your own mind, you know? Where do you turn back on from yourself, you know? Where do you start blaming the outside, you know? Looking at those questions and what's going on inside your own being when you're doing this, you know? Developing self-awareness. Bioenergetics can help a lot because it starts to clear out the holding from within the body where your brain has been suppressing emotions because you're trying to run a program. You're trying to be a certain kind of person. You're trying to be a certain kind of person. The bioenergetics can heal without other therapies, definitely. No worries, you know. But, you know, you don't only need to do that. You know, it's great to have people that you can talk to about things, for example, you know. Hey, Nasima, anyway. Nice. I don't think I've seen you on this channel before, so thank you for tuning in. Majid TV. Can you talk about meeting the unknown and having faith in life instead of being imprisoned in the desire to have a delusional sense of security? Well, you know, it's great that you can see that we're imprisoned in this delusional sense of security, and that often every now and again something comes along to whack it good and hard. And having faith, I think, you know, the thing you need to have faith in most is yourself, you know, that you can do it and develop behaviors step at a time, so that you see that you can do it. So that you see that you can do it, you know. Because have faith in yourself, man. You know, even if you fucked up big time in the past, try to develop faith in yourself that you're a good person, that you can do it, you know, and keep looking inside. And, you know, when I started to do therapy back in the early 2000s, you know, I was a fucking mess. I mean, big time, you know. I mean, really big time, you know. And you know, I really was, you know. On when we talk about basic social needs, I wasn't getting any of them met, and I was a fucking disaster area. Constantly boozing, hanging out with wasted, drunken, and violent guys, involved in criminality and all sorts of dodgy stuff, and not even the glamorous side of criminality by any means. And you know, I was a fucking mess, and actually I needed to copy people who were healthy for a while. So if you really feel you're in that kind of state, copy people that you consider you look up to and are healthy, you know, copy them for a while, but don't forget yourself. Keep working on yourself, develop your awareness. There's nothing stopping anyone in this life. There's nothing stopping you. There's nothing in reality stopping you, just your own mind stories, that's all. And you know, you're a good guy, you can do it, man. Yeah, I've learned a lot from bio and meditation together. Yeah, it's a great combination. I love a bit of meditation, you know. It's probably not super my natural path. I'm more active, outgoing kind of person, but certainly these days. But meditation is awesome, you know, and you know, I've always got a background level of a certain level of kind of hyperactivity and anxiety, and the belly really helps that. The belly activation helps me stay more in my body when I need to, and I recognize I'm going out on a bit, I'm losing myself somewhere. And meditation also is a great thing to do, you know, just to sit and be with your mind and not follow any of the impulses. Just let it run its fucking thing and just sit there and feel and breathe into the belly. You know, you can't beat it. Belly activation releases past childhood traumas, for sure. For sure. In fact, I think it even goes ancestrally and karmically, the belly stuff. Though I couldn't give you hard evidence about that, but that's my gut instinct, so to speak. But definitely, you know, the belly is deep work. You know, this is deep fucking work. You know, when you look at shamanic drugs like, say, ayahuasca or iboga, I don't know their mechanism of action, but I'm pretty sure it gets in the gut. It gets in the gut. You know, that's where it's probably activating and working from, and also the spine, I expect. You know, and I'm not so much into that stuff. I think the bioenergetics is quite a lot deeper, you know, but sometimes it can be useful to use the shamanic drugs for a breakthrough or something like that. I don't rate them so highly personally. I'm not against them, but I don't rate them so highly. You know, having the willingness to stay in your relatively normal consciousness and work on yourself. You know, if you can do that, that's pretty fucking enlightened already. You know, the bottom line with all of this stuff is, can you stay with a process when your mind wants to pull you out? Can you see your mind is trying to pull you out and you think, no, I'm going to stay? You know, that's the bottom line. No amount of paying thousands of pounds for therapy can give you that. You got to develop that yourself, and you don't need to pay a fortune. You know, you just need to say all the tools are right around you. Yeah. Good to hear. But yeah, man. You know, it's deep stuff. It'll pull up deep stuff. You know, when you've got stuff from the past that we've been covering up, and we all have, you know, it'll start to come up, and you got to own it and see what you need. You know, do you need people to share with? You know, do you need to really weep and sob and let go of the past? Do you need to get into a group room and scream your fucking head off about shit that happened to you? You know, in a safe environment to do that. You know. You just got to get in there and see what you need. I'm really happy you're going to come for the boot camp at the end of the month, man. I want to support you, and you've been supporting me a lot, so I want to support you. It's very good, Luigi. Cool. You know, we're all on a deeper journey together. And this bio is deep stuff, you know. I get a lot of people come to my workshops because I work in the New Age field, and you know, and I used to sort of think like you know, I've got to turn it down a bit for these guys. It's a bit much. But then I realised, you know, that's not me. You know, I'm going to give it as much as I feel, you know, responsible to do so. I'm not going to push people right over the edge if they're about to walk out the room. But if they're about to, you know, go back out, I give it quite full on, so that, and I create a safe environment so that I can feel people feel okay to talk about stuff, what's happening inside. We repress so much, you know, so much. And this bio, you know, this is deep stuff. This is deep stuff. Body-based therapy is deep stuff, and it's coming. If you ask me, it's coming. You know, we're in a generation. This is the century of the brain or the mind or whatever. You know, one of those US presidents called it. You know, no doubt about it. But at the same time, the body is coming back because we need it. We need to bring that awareness back in the body. You know, bio is a great way forward. I think it's coming. Okay, so we come to the end of the question feed. If you've got any more questions, I'm going to do about another 15-20 minutes. So feel free to just stick them out. Go for it. Edge of the comfort zone makes sense to me now. Yeah, man, that is the... You see, when you're involved in normal psychotherapy and or, you know, this kind of stuff, you know, your mind is constantly deciding how to move forwards and how to be. I mean, it's not the only strand of it, but that's a big part of it. But you don't need to do that. You know, when you can learn to trust the body, you stay on the edge of your comfort zone and change happens spontaneously, happens naturally, in the moment or over the next few hours or days. So that's, you know, that's a big key thing to learn. And in life generally, take yourself to the edge of your comfort zone. Look at the stuff you're scared of doing and start to move forwards with it, you know, move forwards with it, do it, make use of life. You know, it's not this vast fucking prison run by some bankers or society or governments or whatever. It's not actually, you know, it's actually not. You know, it can seem like that, but that's just a giant fucking excuse for most people not to do their thing and move forwards. You move forwards, you take risks, you get more feedback from the world, you get more understanding of what's going on inside of you. There's never been a better time. I mean, there's never another time apart from now anyway, but there's never been a better time to really get your vision together and start to move forward bit by bit. Do it, you know, it's just do it. You can do it. You can do it. And look at the negativity and the thoughts that come up. You know, I get it constantly, man. I come from chronic low self-esteem background, chronic hiding, you know, and I've still got it, you know. But I get up and I do it, and I start to look, okay, where's my negativity coming in now? Why aren't I taking that risk there? Nasima, hi Nasima. I'm feeling big releases thanks to bioenergetics exercises. The problem is I still not believing that it's me reacting. So with people, it's about a lack of faith. Thanks for your videos. Let me see if I can unpick that. I can't quite understand it. I'm feeling big releases thanks to bioenergetics. Okay, exercises. The problem is I still not believing that it's me reacting. So with people, is that a lack of faith? Maybe it's an auto-correcting. I don't quite get that sentence about. Maybe you can just explain that again, because I'd love to read it. The problem is I still not believing that it's me reacting. So with people, is that a lack of faith? You know, I don't know if you're talking about still being very reactive in social situations. You know, that can even get worse when you start to do bio, because you're opening up the bodily centers. I get people who are very much on the nice guy thing, you know, pleasers. And they start to open up the body, they start getting reactive, you know. It's scary for them, you know, it's scary. They've always been the nice guy, doing what people want, going with the flow, never confronting. And suddenly it's like, and of course, in doing that, you'll also attract the bullies and people who dump a bit of shit on you. And then they're suddenly like standing up like, I'm not fucking taking this shit anymore. And the people around them don't know what the fuck's going on. And it can be scary. You know, it's scary for someone who's been locked in nice guy for 20 years to start to really feel rage, you know, like I'm fucking enraged, you know. It's like full on, you know. But it's part of the journey. I don't even know if that's what you're asking, but feel free, Nasima, to just explain a little bit more if you feel okay to do that. I'm still not believing that it's me reacting. So with people, is that a lack of faith? Don't put yourself down too much, whatever it is, you know. At the end of the day, all these processes are kind of brain processes. They're kind of autonomous, you know. We have to identify and attach to them, you know. I'm planning something on self-image and self-esteem soon, but I've been writing out some thoughts, and then I'm like, oh God, it gets deeper. But the bottom line is, you know, or one of the bottom lines is, you know, believe in yourself. You know, your brain is creating a sense of self, a sense of personal identity. It's not even so fucking fixed or real, but it's creating it like a little program. And it's just pumping it out whilst you're conscious and aware. And, you know, it's doing its thing. And there's nothing really wrong with it. You don't have to be totally attached to it. Try not to put yourself down. You're a good person, basically, you know. And you have choices. You're a good person. So try to stick and believe that and try to move forwards. Bottom line for me is you can do it. You know, you can do it. The cultural conditioning that you've been immersed in may have been saying more, you can't do it. But, you know, you come to one of my groups or you get involved in my bioenergetics, I'm going to tell you, you can do it. And he said, sorry, English not my... No problems, no problems. Benkaloof. I'm trying to kind of work out in my brain where you might be from. Maybe Northern Europe somewhere. I kind of feel like I may have come across that. Could even be Italy, I don't know. Si vuoi parla italiano un poco, eh? Anyway, if you want to explain a little bit more, I'm very happy to try and answer more. And if anyone else has got a question, feel free to just stick it out, and I'm really happy to give it my full go. You know, somewhere therapy has to become fashionable again. You know, when I was brought up, it was like totally wrong to do. You know, you couldn't do therapy because if you did therapy, it was like admitting you're fucked up. And the main thing was in Essex, you know, growing up, was to keep the mask on. Whatever happened, you had to keep the mask on. And, you know, I don't really meet up with my old schoolmates and stuff from that time. I'm kind of quite a way apart from there and I've disconnected from that scene. But when I see people from when I was growing up, most of them, they don't look so good these days, you know. And at the time, I remember being like 17 and thinking, wow, this guy is really like some kind of fucking superhero, you know, in a few decades round the block. And they're just a fucking mess. And I'm doing okay. And it's not like a competition thing. It's more like that awareness, you know. You know, don't put yourself down too much. There's so much backbiting and fighting in the culture I grew up in. There's so much backbiting in culture. Don't buy into it too much. Don't put yourself down too much. You know, often we have to go through a lot of hurt somewhere to react and say, fuck, I'm going to take a position and change it. You know, I want to get my needs met. You know, I want to have nice lover. I want to have nice friendships, supportive friendships. I want to get a good job that I feel good about. And that can motivate people to therapy. What I'm saying is somewhere therapy has to become okay and cool again, you know, because it's fucking sound, you know. Anyway, tell me, how can I find workshops around the Midlands? Well, that's a good question, you know. I'm kind of in the south, London, Dorset and Brighton, and I don't know many people operating in other parts of the UK, to be honest, you know. A few people I know are running bioenergetics a little bit. Very, very rarely. One's also using the centre here, my mate Rax. My friend Anna Prem does the odd one, or festivals and stuff. There's Guy Gladstone, I think he's still doing stuff in Seth in London. But I don't know about the Midlands, what's going on really. You know, there's not so much about... My recommendation, to be honest, and not just selling myself, would be to look for a residential group I'm running or someone else is running, maybe in the south, and just come down for the weekend or for 3 days, you know. Because it's not easy to find this stuff. It's a little bit... It's been around, but it's always been in the background, and it's really actually cutting edge, you know. Can't find anything, to be honest. Yeah, that is the kind of way. Check out the Osho Leela calendar, man. Go online, look at our workshops, you know, and see what's coming up, or just message me, or you know, you can give me a call sometime. I'll give you a call back, or we can chat, or whatever, you know, and just say what you're looking for, and I can recommend something. I'm fine to do it, or you know, hit me up on Facebook or WhatsApp or all this multimedia, Messenger, you know, whatever you want. Drop me an email, you know, and I'm happy to discuss. But my recommendation would be to come for a workshop. I get people flying in for groups, you know, because you can't find it so much out in the world, you know, out in Europe, even Germany. There's probably a bit of bioenergetics going on. There's always bioenergetics in Germany in the old days. I don't know what the scene's like now, but Germany generally is good for therapy, good for satsang, good for spiritual stuff. There's a lot of it around. If you're there, you could check out probably the Osho Centre in Cologne. It's probably got stuff going on. But otherwise, you know, flying is actually pretty fucking cheap from Europe. You know, it can be cheaper than the bloody British Rail train service, to be honest. When I fly out to Italy or Spain or something, often it's like, man, it's like, you know, 50 quid for the flight and 60 quid for the bloody train ticket to the airport, you know. Anyway, I digress a bit, but just as much as getting a train ticket can be just almost as cheap to try and fly in, and of course then you still have to get to Leela, but it's probably worth it. You know, it's probably better to come to fly in and travel. I've got workshops going on in June and August, and I've got some one-day groups. There'll be more later in the year. So there's stuff going on every month or two, residential stuff. And that way, you know, you get a real blast of it. Yes, if you're new, it's jumping in the swimming pool. But, you know, you can just say, I'm new at the beginning. And we also take care of you. Okay, so what are we at? Nearly 6:45. I'm going to do about another, I think another 10 minutes or so. And if anyone's, because I know even though there's not that many people tuning in online at one time, but I see that a lot of people watch it later on and like to tune in and just hear what everyone's sharing, which is cool. So if you got a question, stick it out. If you got a question, stick it out. Even if it's something utterly fucking random, I don't mind. Even if it has nothing to do with therapy. I had a haircut today. I might be looking a little bit militaristic or something like that. I've taken to getting a number 1 on the back and sides and doing the top a bit shorter down at Lads and Dads, the local barber, which actually I find better than the barbers I used to go to in Brighton when I was regularly down there, curiously enough. And yeah, weather's gone down a little bit. It's been like shorts and no socks all week. I've still not got socks, but yeah, I've got my jeans on today. It's a little bit colder. I'm off camping later in the week, back to South Dorset. Can you give your take on overeating? Yes. Overeating, generally what you're doing is you're stuffing away the volatility, insulation for the volatility of the belly-centered emotions, particularly anger. You know, everyone has got some way or 2 ways or so of avoiding the intensity of emotionality. You know, whether it's pain and vulnerability or whether it's that volatile kind of gut-centered emotion. You know, I used to say, it's not very politically correct, but like in the belly, everyone is a bit of a Muslim terrorist, you know, twitchy as fuck and ready to kick off. Apologies if I'm half Iranian myself, if that helps, whatever the word, ameliorate the fact that I'm using that kind of expression. But basically, there's different ways, you know, we can make our belly very tense, or we can just keep stuffing food into it. A lot of emotions are centered in the belly, and then when I work with people with overeating stuff, essentially what goes on is, you know, an emotion is coming up and their brain is like, oh, let's just have a little snack, get some sugar in there, get some carbs in there, you know. So working at a gut level is almost certainly a very good practice if you're suffering overeating, you know. I never really got super fat. I was regularly a little bit overweight, like half a stone, you know. I think that's about 6 kilos in metric system. And, you know, I'm still probably a few pounds, just a little few pounds over. But since I've been doing the belly activation, it's much easier for me to just skip a meal, because in summer I also hardly need to eat anything, which is a drag because I quite like eating, but I hardly need it for some reason. A bit of breakfast and maybe a bit of dinner and I'm okay, but I would like to eat more. And living in a community, there's a lot of food around and people eating, and eating's a big social occasion to hang out with people as well. So it's easy for me to start eating when I don't really need it. Out in the world, it's easier for me to drop it, but nevertheless, the belly stuff will help. You know, overeating is a classic way that we pad out volatile feelings, emotions of pain, emotions of anger, usually. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Dev. Hey, Mohammed. Thank you. Can you give me a schedule to stick with? Schedule to stick with. I mean, I'm hoping in the next year or so, because I'm kind of working out training people in bioenergetics a little bit on the program here, to start to develop, like, you know, something like a 7-week bioenergetic workout program, you know, but I haven't quite got my head around it enough to feel confident yet, and I don't want to charge in too early. It's a bit experimental. But the bottom line is, you know, you need to look, what can I commit to in a week? You know, can I do bioenergetics 3 times a week? Can I do it every day for half an hour? And then set aside the time and just do it. And if you don't do it, write down the excuses in your excuse book. Write them down 100 times, what your excuse is. You have to do it. I'm looking at different ways to help support people, because a lot of people out there want to develop, but they're not. It's not possible for them to get into workshops for whatever reason. Usually geographical location, they're not near workshops. So that was always a traditional way of these kind of intense therapeutic process. You did it in a workshop, you know, and there's a lot of people out there. So I'm looking at different ways. The bottom line is you need to commit, and you need to find something that you can commit to. You can do it, Mohammed. You know, you've been on this channel quite a lot, man. I want you to stick to something. Stick to it, you know, stick to it. Look, what can you commit to? Can you commit to and go for it? What's the best moment of the day to practice? I always say the early morning. If you can do the early morning, that's the best. Because how it kind of works is the brain, you know, when you're doing very intense therapeutic work, often they restrict your sleep, because even though we, you know, sleep is good, and all the neurologists say sleep is good, the fact is, part of why it's good is that there's a lot of your stuff represses back into the body when you sleep, you know. And actually having 5 hours sleep is quite common in therapy groups, because all your stuff is nearer to the surface. If you're going out to work, it's not so great because you're more volatile, you know, you're emotionally triggered. But in a therapy workshop, that's good, because when you wake up in the morning, all your stuff is quite near the surface. You know, your body's been compressing it. And so it's good to get stuck in quite quick if you can. You know, even don't have a cup of tea, even don't have a fag if you're a smoker, you know, just if you can, you know. And if you can't, don't make that a reason to not do it. Just have your cup of tea, have what you need. If you need a little bit of something to eat, have something to eat, and then do it, you know. And any time of day is okay, but the morning is good. The reason I think of it as good is because I'm quite a practical person, and it's like then you got the whole day to be more clear. You know, you got the whole day to be more clear because we're active in the day. So I always recommend the early morning to go for it and get your body clear. When you start to do this kind of practices regularly, you wake up and you know where the tension is. All I do is a bit of growling in the early morning. Sometimes it freaks my girlfriend out a bit of the old ooh. Start my stretches off, then maybe head over to group room and just do a proper workout for like half an hour or an hour if I got the time, and really and really go for it. I learn whereabouts in my body I need to move the energy over time, where I need to move the tension so that I feel good for the day, so I can be super functional if I need to be, you know, get a whole ton of stuff done and keep moving. So I recommend the early morning. And you know, that's why I think over time bioenergetics is going to get to be really fucking useful, because you can do so much fucking stuff on it. You know, you can be highly functional socially, and you can get out there and work up, probably if you wanted to, a 10-hour bloody day without your whole body being fucked by the time you're 35, you know, like the guys in their 20s doing that kind of stuff. What is better for raising libido, belly or pelvic exercises? I mean, either are good. I think pelvis is a great start, you know. Get that pelvis bouncing around, get its natural energy flowing, you know. If you follow, I did a workout about a month ago, I think pelvic release, you can follow that, or there's some other bioenergetics, the numbered series with a kind of hash number, which are on the pelvis, and get some of those pelvic releases going. And generally, but you can work anywhere in the body to start to get your energy flowing, and generally it will raise libido. You know, bioenergetic workshops in the old days, people would be horny as fuck by about one day, you know. You had to insist that that everyone kind of would freak out, but in the old days, the centre I used to go to, they used to insist people had, you know, sexual health screening and always use condoms. And before you think, what the fuck are you doing that? And then you start doing this kind of therapeutic work based in the body, and people just get horny and want to shag a lot, you know. So you have to kind of have, you know, clinical insistence that they make as much as you can do, that they take precautions so they don't get sexual diseases or unwanted stuff. But generally, working with the body will increase your sex drive quite a lot. You know, it's normal to get that. So you can work anywhere with the body, with emotional expression, with bioenergetics, you know, with the chest, with the pelvis, with the gut, anywhere, you know, you can work with a bow and arch. You know, once your energy starts to flow more, once some of the blocks come out of your system, you know, you can guarantee your energy will step up, and at the same time your sexuality will step up. Okay. Hans Holst, I think Trump is Jesus. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. He's our president and last salvation. Well, who knows, you know? Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. Maybe we'll see him. I'm not against Trump. I'm not really into politics. I think it's bollocks, basically. You know? Politics is... You know, if you want to buy into politics, it's up to you. Better off doing some... Do some fucking groups, man. Do some groups, Hans, you know? I mean, like, become your own Jesus. Become your own Trump, you know? Become your own Trump. You know, you don't need to look up to someone else. You don't need to look some fucking savior somewhere, you know. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. You know, it's like you do it. You step up. Don't look to the leaders. If you look to leaders to always kind of save us, you know, then you just buy into all their bullshit and you get whatever's coming to you basically at the end of the day. You know. You know, I did a video not long ago about the alt-right, you know, and everyone was kind of, I had to cut off some of the comments because people were rattling on about Nazis were signing in and stuff. But the bottom line is with these alt-right guys is they want someone to blame. And it's fucking bullshit. It's fucking bullshit, you know. You can't, you know, they want to blame immigrants, people with different skin colour, they're taking all our jobs and blah, 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 blah. It's fucking bullshit. Stop blaming, wake the fuck up and grow up, you know, simple as that. Take a position for yourself. You know, if you start blaming other people for the way your life is, you become God's bitch, basically. You become society's bitch. Simple as that. Simple as that. Jesus loves you. It's cool, man. Nothing against Jesus, you know. But you don't even need, you see, you start to open your body up properly. The love comes from the inside, you know. It comes from the inside. It's from the police. We're conditioned somewhere to look outward for love, whether it's Jesus or girlfriend or whatever, you know, whether it's Jesus, girlfriend or whatever. But actually, it's inside you. But telling yourself a story ain't going to get that. You open up your body and, you know, it starts to come. It starts to come from inside. From inside. I mean, you don't need to do weird shit to seek it on the outside, you know. Whether it's about Jesus or religion, or whether it's about, you know, just pleasing your girlfriend all the time in the hope that she will keep on loving you or whatever. Anyway, I got to get going to a little social gathering very soon. So I got about 2 minutes if there's any last questions anyone would like to put out. And otherwise, just remember, you're a good person. You're an awesome person, you know, and you can do it. You can move forwards and you can move deeper. You know, it's the main thing in life. That's what I'm here for. I started to do it for myself. It's ongoing, and I expect others to do the same. You know, I hope others can do the same. And I just look what can be done to support. The culture I grew up in, support was a lot of hard-ass stuff, you know, which sometimes you need, you know, the sergeant major, get on your ass and do it, you know. But I also look at other ways as well. I'm open to anything that works, you know, that gets people to keep moving. And it's tough, you know. If you can get yourself to a workshop, that will support you so much that you can go out of there and then you know how to do it, you know, and you're connected with people. WhatsApp groups start after my groups all the time, and then people stay connected. They've made a physical connection and you stay connected, you know, they're there to support you. Last question, bioenergetic exercise for quality short sleep. Often when I want to sleep, I actually do breathing and feeling into my belly, sitting down, Buddhist meditation. Otherwise, for quality short sleep, I would go for gag reflex. Gag reflex. Bring the awareness. That's the quickest way to open the throat and bring awareness back into the body. You know, I did one. It's quite popular on insomnia or can't sleep. I think it's called something like that. And that's got a few treatments. Quality short sleep. Yeah, power napping and that. Anything that brings you back deep into your body and lets you just sleep. I hope that helps, Derek. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it there. It's great to see you and to, well, hear you and feel you, and whatever your message is, thank you. You know, we're doing it together. We're going to support each other, and we're going to go deeper. Feel free to get in touch. You know, feel free to get in touch if you're interested to come for a workshop or just want a little bit of advice. Drop me a line. Okay, guys, love you all, and see you soon. We're going to do it.